Hi, I'm Sarah from Kamay. A real pleasure to have you here with us in London for the film festival. Maybe you could begin with a brief introduction to Kamay. For people who don't know anything about your film, what can they expect?
Well, Kamay follows a Hazara family who live in central Afghanistan and whose daughter commits suicide inside Kabul University. So the film follows the family in a course of nearly 6 years. The parents who travel back and forth to Kabul to look for answers and to seek justice for their late daughter, and the youngest sister, Frishta Khawari, who is also the narrator of the film, who reflects on the journeys of the parents, but also since she had a very close relation with her sister, she reflects on memories and she reflects on all what her sister had been through. It's quite a personal film, a very intimate inner journey of the characters, but it also, the different layers of the film touches upon the political situation as well as the historic background of the Hazara people whose identity and whose history, is somehow intervened with what is happening for them. So in a way, it's a personal film, but at the same time, quite a political and historic film.
And tell us a bit about the genesis of the project. How did you come across this story and why were you compelled to make a documentary about it?
I studied at Kabul University, journalism faculty. My two sisters studied at Kabul University. My mother studied and eventually taught at Kabul University, science faculty. So we already had this background with Kabul University involvement. And although I was a male student, I was a boy, I had certain privileges, but I knew what it meant to be a Hazara student, a Hazara girl within Kabul University. So when I came across this news at social media of a girl from Daikundi who had to commit suicide inside Kabul University, I felt like something burning inside me. So I had to do something. I couldn't just stay indifferent as anything had never happened. So what could I do? I went to the student protests. I started to capture with my cell phone. And then I borrowed a camera, and then I asked my colleague, co-director, and my other colleagues to join us to go to Daikundi, to follow them. So in a way, the suicide of Zahra, the fact that she wanted to say something, to communicate something in a very radical way, impacted us and inspired us at the same time to take action. So it's a reaction to Zahra's call for justice, basically.
See such difficult subject matter, so sensitive, working with their family, a 6-year journey, as you said. What was that whole process like for you?
When I started the film, I was someone total different person. When we had a picture lock, I was a total different person. So it was also a personal journey for me and for my colleagues because the film somehow, coincidentally, we were capturing also a very turbulent history of Afghanistan. So many things happened and eventually the country collapsed while we were filming. So it was quite a turbulent production process, but at the same time, it somehow helped us to come into terms with who we are, with the question of identity, and to position ourselves in the country and in the world that we live in. But I'm very grateful of the family because they trusted us. They opened not only the doors of their house, but also the doors of their hearts to us. They welcomed us. They treated us as a family, and they shared with us their very emotional and difficult thoughts and feelings. And without their support and collaboration, this would never have happened. But we were inspired, we were inspired by the kindness of the family, by the way they were as a family, by the way they processed this painful event and how they were still together and how they were supporting each other. So it was also, like as I said, for us like a university where we learned and where we got inspired. But also it was a very difficult film emotionally, but also production-wise. It was more than a film because we had to deal with all the security issues, with all these uncertainties. We risked our lives to make this film, so it was much more than a production for us.
And what do you hope the impact of the film to be? And I guess, as you say, this has all been unfolding with the backdrop of Taliban taking over. the country's in a much worse state now than I guess it was when you started filming. So does that feel like quite a difficult context in which to bring out this film?
First and foremost impact is the fact that Zahra's voice is now being heard. She committed suicide because she wanted to tell us something, because she was suppressed. And now we are basically together bringing her voice to the international stages, to thousands of audience worldwide. I think that is the first and foremost impact of the film. And at the same time, this is among the very first films that is made by people from Afghanistan. There's no Western filmmaker, director involved. It's all local team from an insider perspective. And it's a narrative that goes beyond the frames and filters of mainstream media, international community's perspective, and Afghan nationalism. So in a way, this is one of the first times that we as a people have had the chance to narrate ourselves. And that's for itself a big impact. And now I'm very happy that we are having back-to-back festival selections, and we are traveling with the film. And everywhere we go, of course, we cannot answer many questions about this complicated country, but at least we can ask the right questions and provoke thoughts. And I hope that this will help us deal with the current situation, with what is happening with the Taliban, the suppression of women, suppression of Hazaras, and suppression of minorities. So we hope that this film will basically evoke a kind of discourse about what's happening in the country, but not from a mainstream point of view, but from a more intimate and from a more human level.
Finally, what does it mean to you specifically to have it at London Film Festival?
Well, I think it's a honor for us to be here. The audience are amazing. The festival is amazing. The reception has been fantastic. And I think politically it says a lot with the involvement of the British. There's something I have to say, that the British has been involved with Afghanistan quite historically. And you can trace it back to the late 19th century, during the Anglo-Afghan wars and during the Great Game, when the political borders of Afghanistan was defined. And that was through the influence of English. And when the Afghan Emir suppressed the Hazara resistance, the British, back then British India, was basically supporting the Emir politically and advising them. So somehow, politically, there's a lot of links, historic links, between what the Hazara people has been going with the British involvement of the matters in Afghanistan. But also the fact that this has been ignored and overlooked for centuries. The mainstream media, the international community, they all have their own narratives, but they have never touched upon this very fact that the very existence of this country is a result of a war and a game between the Russian imperialism and the British colonialism. So, and whatever is happening, it is not happening in isolation. It is happening in the continuation of this political agenda, you know, of the colonial era. So on that way, I think when I was walking in the streets of London, I was reflecting on all these events, historic events that's happening. So on that level, for me personally, it's very, it's a moment of reflection to the history and to, but again, I mean, in a very human level, I'm very honored to meet the audience here and to share the film. And I hope that this will help us talk about some difficult topics that we had never had the chance to talk about.
100%. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me. Congratulations on the film, and really enjoyed presenting it here in London. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.